The journey we're taking is the journey within you. Everybody has their own story and their own journey to share. Every journey conceals another journey within its lines, the path not taken and the forgotten angle. Listen to the stories from others sharing their triumphs and struggles that led them to where they are today. Welcome to the journey within you. Again, I get to have someone on my podcast to share their journey. And that's what this podcast is about. I bring people in to take us through the journey that brought them to where they are today. And Sharon, welcome. I'm glad to have you here today.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, I was saying earlier how, when our journey, it's not a straight path. It has a lot of twists and turns. Sometimes it backs up,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a journey.
Yep.
So I love for people to share because I know it impacts others on how this journey led you to where you are today in your life.
Cool. Yeah. Love it. Yeah. Thanks, Laura. I am actually I'm living in Canada right now, with my husband and my three children. And I work as a fractional executive assistant. I started my own business a year ago. But I was born in Ireland, Cork, Ireland. And I was raised with three brothers
Mm,
in a really tight-knit home. It was a very traditional home. My mom was a stay-at-home mom and wife, and she was really good at it. She was a really great mom. She was uh, she was really great at, running the home and keeping everything in shape and keeping everything organized for us. And I remember as I grew, I really loved children. And
mm,
I loved the older I get, I just really love being around babies and playing with my family friends with toddlers. And I knew there was two things I wanted in life. I really wanted to be a teacher.
mm,
And I decided I wanted to be a teacher my first day when I went into junior infants, which is kindergarten.
mhm,
I wanted to be a teacher from that day on. I never moved off that. And I wanted to be a mum. I wanted to be a
mm.
mum. I wanted to get married, have my own home. And I was so traditional. I really just wanted to be like my mum.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's what I wanted and hoped for. And as I came to the end of high school, secondary school, I at one point I had a bit of a wobble and oh, should I do something else? But
Yeah.
then I was like, nope, teaching is what I want to do. And I had picked a house down the road from my parents' house that I was going to live there.
Oh,
So it's nice and close to my parents, and we'd be up and down with grandkids. That was, had the whole thing
yeah,
planned.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Visualize. Yeah.
yeah, I'd visualized the whole thing. So I was
Yeah.
going to do teaching, and then I was going to be a mom. That was kind of the order I was going to do.
Mhm.
And so I got into university, got my teaching course, and then came out of teaching, graduated, and literally that summer I just walked into my dream job.
Mm,
And a lot of my friends were not in the same shoes as me. Like they
yeah.
took a lot of time trying to find a job or finding the job they really loved, and I
Mm,
just walked into it. I
wow.
while I was in university, I had decided I I love being in a mainstream school, but I really wanted to work with children with special needs. And so my ideal job was to work as a resource teacher, as we
Hmm.
were then,
Hmm.
in a mainstream school. And so I would bring children, high needs children out, and I would teach them.
Teach them special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to do. And that is the job I got.
Oh,
And it was very close to my parents' home, loved staying living with my parents. So I just traveled from home to there. But I was very like attached to my home, my country, my city. I had no
mm,
interest in leaving. A lot of my
mm.
friends wanted to head off. Like I
Yeah.
was,
Ready to get out of there.
yeah,
Yeah.
they went to go to
Yeah.
Dublin, and
Yeah.
some people went even as far as England. And I was
Oh
like,
my goodness.
I had no interest, no
You were
interest.
happy. Yeah.
Yeah. But I did want to get married. I did want to get married. And so
Hmm.
when I was 23, it was just at the end of university, I met this random guy who happened to be studying, and he was from Canada.
Mm.
And we connected, and we started dating, and I'm like, this is great. You're going to move to Ireland because I'm not leaving.
Yeah. Right.
So that was fun.
Yeah.
But he ended up moving away to Los Angeles
Oh,
to do
wow.
his PhD, and we hummed and hawed for many years. I worked in Ireland, he was in LA, and I was like, I'm not moving. And then he was like, well, I'm doing this here, and I don't know if there's any jobs in Ireland. And we were very much will they, won't they for a long time.
Right, right.
But I fell in love with him, and
Mm.
I would go visit him. And eventually my mom was like, Sharon, if something's gonna happen with this guy, you're gonna have to live somewhere near him. You can't be
Keep being
out
so far
of.
away. Yeah.
And when my mom said that, I was like, because I thought the biggest obstacle to me ever moving away was my parents just would be like, "You're insane. What are you doing?"
Right. Why are you leaving? Yeah.
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 And I real when they said that, I was like, "Oh." And
She
it was my
doesn't
parents'
really,
money
it
for
doesn't
sure.
matter if you move. Yeah.
No. So I was like, okay. So at that point, I was in love. So I was ready to go. I was
Mm,
ready to follow my heart.
mm.
Didn't want to leave Ireland. I really didn't.
Right,
But
right.
you know, love does that to you, get a bit
It
crazy.
does. Yeah, it's funny how it works.
Yeah, it's funny how that works exactly. So anyway, I moved off to Los Angeles. I was 28 at this point. I'd lived with my
Mm,
parents all that time. My parents were awesome. They weren't controlling. They gave us all kinds of freedom, made sure we had cars to go where we wanted. So it was very easy to live with them.
right. Well, you're
Uh,
respectful too, though. I mean, that's
yeah,
key.
yeah.
You had a good relationship.
We had a good relationship. If I can do as well with my kids as they did with us, I know
Oh,
I
I
can.
know.
So I loved living with my parents. It was never a problem, never wanted to leave until I left to Los Angeles. It was quite a big thing. I'd never
That's a
even,
big move.
yeah. So headed off there, got a job, another dream job. I just
Wow.
walked into it in a Montessori school as an elementary school teacher. My training was actually Montessori, and this was I got to work in a private elementary level Montessori,
Mm.
which we don't have a lot of in Ireland. And they had this great one in Santa Monica, and I had so much fun there. So much fun working in
And for
that
you
school.
to be coming from another country just to be able to walk right in, I mean, to that
Because of
job.
But it
Yeah.
was because of my Montessori training. And my
Yeah.
dad actually said to me before when I was choosing my university, he said, "This is a good one to do because it's international."
Oh,
But he didn't actually realize how huge that would be for me
for you. Yeah.
because I ended up falling in love with a guy who wasn't, I had to move. And I
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, I got my work visa, the whole thing, came over to the US, was able to work at that school for 3 years, absolutely loved it. Another dream job. While I was there, my husband and I got married. I married that guy who dragged me all the way to LA. And then we were expecting our first baby, and he was at the end of his postdoc, and he was about to move on to another postdoc. And I was going to have a baby, and I didn't want to work. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm just going to be
Yeah.
stay-at-home mom. That's what I wanted.
Mm.
And so we had to figure all that out. My husband's actually originally from Canada. He's Canadian.
Yeah.
So it was a very complex thing. If we'd stayed in the US, I would have had to go back to Ireland and get my dependent visa, the whole.
Oh, all the work. Yeah. All the papers.
So he got offered a postdoc back in Canada, which made it
Mm.
much easier because he's a citizen. And so we went back to Canada with my American baby, 2 weeks old, and the only American citizen
Wow.
at home. And
Gosh.
we moved back to Canada, and he started a postdoc in another university. So in Canada, then we had two more kids, and that was our life. We set up home. We moved to the city we live in now back in 2000 and 12. No, 2013 we moved here.
Yeah.
And I was a stay-at-home mom.
Nice.
And I it was good. I
Mm-hmm.
love being at home with my kids. Love being at home
Hmm.
with my toddlers. But I struggled a little bit with the staying on getting a good schedule. Now
Right.
I
Right. That
realize
takes time to get that figured out with kids.
yeah, I realized my kids were little, and I had to I wish I'd forgiven myself a little bit more, but I
A
struggled
little
hard.
more grace. Yeah.
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 And also I have diabetes, and I have that extra bit of energy struggles. And so I love being with my babies, but the whole stay-at-home mom piece wasn't clicking into place for me. It just
Mhm.
wasn't falling into place. And I struggled hard. And
Because you thought you needed to be like your mom, so that was a disappointment to you.
I
Yeah,
thought it was just going to come
yeah,
naturally to me,
yeah.
right?
So she did it. Why can't I?
I was
Yeah,
like, the house was fine. And obviously, I wasn't around when we were toddlers. I didn't see what it was like, but I don't remember.
right. She
So I,
struggled.
yeah. So I struggled a bit, and then I homeschooled my kids for about 6 years.
Mm,
Um, in that time, I discovered my eldest daughter's on the spectrum. And then I
mm,
was like, oh, I'm definitely homeschooling because I'm a spec ed teacher. I can do this. But
mhm.
it turns out there's something very different about being a mom and being a teacher.
Yeah, yeah, it's a whole lot different.
And when your child struggles academically, the intensity of the teaching part is
Hmm.
hard. And
Hmm.
so we kind of came to a conclusion around the beginning of 2020 that the kids needed to go to school.
Yeah,
And so there was my concern with my daughter is she's on the spectrum. She's very, very well behaved, but has learning needs. But unfortunately, in the public system, I knew from talking to people that it's likely
that
she would
things
be
would be
ignored.
lacking.
Yeah, well, she'd be ignored because she'd be easy to,
Yeah,
like, I don't blame teachers, right?
yeah,
They have
yeah.
so much on their plate, but my daughter is
Right,
very
right.
well behaved. She can read fluently, but major, major other issues. And I knew it was very unlikely they'd get addressed. So we said, okay, we got to send them to school. So we knew we needed to choose a private school for them. There's a local Christian school that we decided to enroll them in. It was 2020. It
No,
it was like, when was it? Like March, early March.
right, right. When
I
it
did,
all happened.
and I gave
Hmm.
them my application forms. I was like, okay, 3 kids coming next year. We were about to bring the kids in a week after March break. We were going to bring them in for a student for a day. We were all excited about it.
Yeah,
And the following week after I did my forms, COVID hits. And I'm like,
yeah.
whoa.
Whoa, no, that changed all that. Yeah, for everybody.
Yeah, it changed everything. So
Yeah.
my kids went to we considered they went to the school. It was good because there was a lot of bursary and help out at that point because of COVID, and it was our
Hmm.
first year there. So the first year they went, all the travel shut down, right? So travel
Mm,
wasn't even an issue. I forgot
yeah.
this. I was kind of going home every other year. I would go visit my parents every other
Oh,
year.
yeah, that's right.
So that they did the first year in the school, and then the second year we knew we weren't going to get the same bursaries, and so they knew I had a teaching background. I hadn't changed all of my qualifications to be recognized in Ontario, so
Right.
they offered me a position as an educational assistant
Mm,
at the school, and it was part-time. And I was like, "Oh wow, this is cool. This is great." And it also helped us with the
yeah.
finances of paying for the school. So I got that job, started working in the school, and I realized the minute I walked in the door and I started working again, I was like,
This
this
is not where
is
I belong.
but no, the opposite. Like, I love working.
Oh, okay. You realized it was
Good
good.
for me.
Yeah.
Get up, I get out of the house. I'm under someone else's schedule. I
Hmm.
need this.
Structure. Yeah.
I needed the structure. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe this dream of being a full-time mom wasn't quite for me.
Mm,
Right?
mm.
You actually get into this mode where it feels like that's what every woman is meant to do, right? You
Oh,
get
I know. I know.
right?
That's just the way we follow the procedure. Okay, now I'm mom. I stay home. I take care of my kids. And then next, what do I do next? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, and my mom did it for her entire childhood, and I loved it. I loved that she was home, but I was like, I need this. I really need to be out doing this. I loved it. It was an awesome thing, way
Hmm.
to fill my time. And it was doing
Yeah.
something I loved. It was a passion,
Yeah.
right? I love teaching.
Yeah.
So I did that for 2 years in that school. So the other thing that happened during COVID was we started to notice that there was some things going with my dad. He was forgetting stuff,
Mm.
and you know the way it was with like delays in hospital procedures and
Right. Right.
yeah.
Right.
But during this time, first of all, I couldn't travel anyway because of COVID
Yeah.
restrictions.
Yeah.
I had kind of in the back of my mind, I was saying, well, maybe, if we can manage, we'll go during the summer holidays or something. It'll be a bit more expensive, but I'm working, it's fine.
Right.
And then right when everything was kind of opening up and everybody was traveling, no problem, my dad was diagnosed with dementia.
Mm.
And so then I was like, okay, now we can travel. There was another family crisis that the Christmas of was 2022. My aunt was very ill and I rushed over to see her.
Did you?
And we literally had to use like our renovation budget to pay for that.
Right.
It was because it was so expensive to go
So,
at that
yeah,
time of
oh,
year.
I
And
can
so,
imagine.
yeah, and then in the summer of 2023, my brother had a wedding, and so we had to go in the summer. And
Oh
so in those
gosh.
two places, I got a taste of the cost of
Mm-hmm.
traveling with 5 people to Ireland
Mm-hmm.
during my season. And so towards the end of 2023 school year, I was like, something's got to give here because I
Yeah.
have to be able to visit home. It's extremely expensive to visit in
Mm.
the summer. I don't even like taking my kids out of school at the end of
Right.
term early because I like them to be there
You
when
want
it's
them to finish.
and
Yeah.
finish off, right? So I was like, I need to be able to travel during the school year so it's affordable, but I can't do that if I'm working there,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the school I work at is awesome. They're actually very accommodating. They might even accommodate that, knowing the
Right.
situation,
Right.
but they're not going to pay me.
Exactly. You're going to lose money. Yeah. Or
So
not
that's
get the
when,
extra. Yeah.
yeah. So that's when I got to I realized, okay, I need to quit working at the school and I need to find a job that I can work that I can have full control of my hours when I work, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that kind of stuff. And so what I really wanted to do at that point was like I needed to make a certain amount of money in order to cover the cost of the kids' tuition. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I needed that job that
And
was
travel.
and travel as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's where what brought me to the place where I quit the job and started my own business.
Mm.
Yeah, so I started, I first of all, I was looking at this as a kind of just a practical replacement of the job I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that I was not going to replace the joy I got from my work.
Right.
I
Right.
loved teaching so much.
Yeah. That was a passion. Yeah.
But I was like, look, this is what it is.
Mm.
I can't do this job right now. And all I can do is try and just replace the cash.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I decided to look into becoming a virtual assistant.
Mm-hmm.
And I joined a VIP insiders group and got some training there. And as I started that, then I was kind of okay, there's so many virtual assistants, right?
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
every right and they're
Yeah. They
available.
are. Yeah.
Yeah. And then some of them really charge very little because they don't live in Canada or the US, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they can charge lower
A
rates.
lot less. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I need to niche down. That's kind of the thing. And virtual assistants in North America, they know we need to niche. We need to find like our strength and try and work in that. And so with the help of my mentor, who kind of helped me think through all of that, I was she kept saying, make sure like remember the skills you have. You
Yeah.
have these
Yeah.
skills as a teacher,
Mm-hmm.
use them.
Yeah.
And so I think, okay, well, I'm a teacher. And so I went and I joined some groups where I tried to do some virtual assistant work for, teachers who have like their own businesses, right? And so
Right. Right.
resources. And I did that for a little bit, but I stalled. It was again, it was very saturated.
Mm-hmm.
I really struggled to just get known and get a reputation, right?
Right.
I
Right.
did get one or two really great clients there. But I just hadn't kind of settled and figured out what I was doing. At one point, then I did get one client who he was CEO of kind of a tech support company, and he had
Mm-hmm.
me do more like back office admin stuff.
Right.
And when I was working with him, I was like, this is what I really enjoy. I prefer this to the content creation, and I prefer it to like social media content creation.
Mm-hmm.
I did a touch of that. I just didn't feel like that was for me. I was good at the marketing and scheduling was fine, but really I didn't want to throw my lot in with social media.
Right.
So I'm working with this guy and I'm like, I like this work, but I was like, how do I get in front of more like CEOs of businesses? Like, how do I get
Right.
people like this guy? And honestly, I fell into it by accident. I had another client reached out to me on Alignable. He was a local business owner, And when I was working with him, I just worked with him for a very short time, but he introduced me to an online networking group.
Oh,
And I was like, oh, I didn't even know those things existed. I was aware,
no.
yeah, I was aware of in person, but I was thinking like I work with people everywhere.
Yeah.
In person is a little bit limited, but I was prepared to do it. When this guy told me about this group, and I was like, that's cool. So I tried it out. And when you're in those groups, like one of the things you do is you connect on LinkedIn, right? That's a big,
Yes.
and I
Yeah.
was trying to kind of grow LinkedIn and figure it out, like how can I use
Yeah. Yeah.
this?
I had to do
I
that
didn't,
too.
yeah, I didn't
I'm
really
still
understand.
learning.
Yeah, I got tips.
Okay, good.
I
You'll have
learned
to
a lot
share them with
recently.
me.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
love to.
you,
I
yes.
geek out in LinkedIn now. I'm a complete
Oh,
addict.
good.
Yeah,
Good, good. I need to know all the
this is after
things.
less than a year too. I'm not
Oh,
exactly an
cool.
expert.
Cool.
Yeah. So anyway, I started connecting with people on LinkedIn, but then sometimes I would connect with them and I'd message them, and then they would say, "Hey, why don't we do a one-on-one?" And I was like, "Okay," but the thing with the one-on-ones, I didn't really understand what it was, and
Right.
there's one thing I hated about business with any kind of networking call was the pitch part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, it just
Yeah. Selling yourself, right? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
like
Oh,
I don't know. It just I hate doing it. He talked about myself, but
yeah. Yeah.
anyway. I would go on these calls and then I would be like kind of like just pitching or something, but I didn't know what I was doing. Honestly, I didn't know what I
Right.
was doing.
Right. Right. Well, that's how we learn, though, right? Because I've self-taught myself a lot of things. And
Yeah.
it's like, I didn't like it either. It's like, but here I am.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. So anyway, there was one person I met in this LinkedIn on this group, and I messaged him, and he wrote back to me. He was like, "Hey, why don't you just join this group? Just visit this group." Now I had visited a lot of online networking groups, so I was like, "Cool, like I'm happy to do that. I want to expand
Mhm.
my network and try to get in front of more people." And so he invited me to this group, and it was a local group for me, but
Oh,
it's
wow.
part of a larger community.
Hmm.
The nice part of it being a local group is every now and then we'll meet up in person.
Yes. Yeah. I like that too. You
Yeah, it is
finally
nice.
get to see the person you're working for.
Yeah, but when I joined this group, I was my first time joining it. I immediately loved it. There was a vibe there and a warmth.
Mhm.
And what was really interesting to me is people were very honest about who they were and where they were, and people were really supportive of each other. And
Nice.
they really gave like feedback and advice, but they were fun as well, right? They
Yeah.
were just
Yeah.
fun. And I'm like, I really like this group.
Hmm.
And so I was like, I am so in. But then I realized it was a subscription-based group. And I was like,
Uh,
oh, I have
yeah. A
making money.
monthly payment. Yeah.
And I was making zero, like nothing at the moment. I was
Right.
paying
Right.
clients. But I really felt like there was something about this group that there was potential. And so
Hmm.
I was like, I'm going to give it a go.
Mm.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to sign up. I'm going to do the subscription and I'm going to give it a go. And if I don't get a return of interest on this, I'm going to, I'm going to like,
You'll stop.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to
Be
stop.
done.
Yeah. But I said, I'll do it for this length of time and I'll see what happens. And then I'll re-examine my decision. So in January of this year, I started in the group. There was an awesome guy in that group came, he said to me, I want you to do two things. Because we were talking about big, hairy, audacious goals for the year. And I was like, guys, I would just like to sort of know more people. I have one
Yeah.
who actually gives me very little work. I need to
Right.
get lots of people. So he gave me two pieces of advice. He said, get your LinkedIn connections to 500 plus. I was at about 200.
Yeah.
He said, network with 15 people a week.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. And that's how it happens because I know that in network marketing, period, you have to connect. You have
Yeah.
to connect.
Yeah. And so part of this group also was training. And so they trained you a lot of
Right.
to network properly, to do pitch-free networking basically. And that was the thing that sold it for me. And I really just learned a lot about being authentic and
Hmm.
being yourself,
Hmm.
but also being strategic with who you network with and
Yeah.
how you network by bringing value.
Mm.
So
Mm.
growing my network meant that I was now able to go into a meeting and say, who can I introduce you to? Right. And then that that means I'm bringing you value, and
Yeah.
then I'm hopefully top of mind, right?
Yeah.
Within 2 months, I already had,
Your
was
money back.
I had my money back. I think it was a month I had signed a new client. By April, I was maxing out on clients.
Mm.
And
Wow.
yeah, my business just exploded. It's still kind of a little bit at the moment. I'm trying to just get to a point where I'm running it really well. So just the learning of about running my business.
Yeah, yeah. Keeping everything in
Yeah,
structure again. You have
yeah,
to have that, right? So how
yeah.
many clients do you try to handle per month? I mean, what is your like maxing out? What is that?
At the moment, I have about 7 clients,
Yeah.
but
7?
7 clients. Yeah,
Yeah.
7.
Yeah. I mean, that's what, people don't realize the work that goes behind each client.
That's a
And
lot
then it's a lot of work. And then it's
of work.
different for each
Yeah,
client,
100%.
So you've got to keep all that organized in are you a very organized person?
Nope.
Not either.
You want to know?
Shamefully. I
Do you
am,
know?
but
Yeah.
I'm not. I mean, there's parts of me that are great,
Yeah.
but the parts that I think I've got kind of under control, nah. No.
So I'll tell you something. I am not organized, right? But one thing I've learned is I was diagnosed about 2 months ago with ADHD.
No way. Oh my
And
goodness.
that helped me understand myself
Why you're doing what you do. Yeah.
and why I even struggled with being a mom and why I thrived as a teacher. Because I
Yeah.
became a teacher when I was quite young and I figured out ways to do it and systems.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
but then my doctor said to me, as soon as you have a sudden change, that's where you struggle, right? And when I
Mm-hmm.
was a mom, I never actually sat down and said, I need a system. I was like, well, I'm a mom, right? I'm a
Yeah.
girl. I
Everything
just do it.
just flows. Right.
No.
Right.
One of the
You
big
had to
things
have
for me is
systems.
yeah, I
Yeah.
struggled to adapt and my brain became overwhelmed and I became exhausted.
Yeah.
And when I actually started taking some Concerta for ADHD, the first thing I noticed was a brain fog that I'd had for years disappeared.
Wow.
It was just gone.
That had to feel so good.
Yes.
I mean,
It
it's
was,
strange. You're like, wait,
yeah.
what just
You're
happened?
kind of like, you're like, maybe I should have done this earlier. But
But
here's
you
the thing though.
didn't realize. Yeah.
But the thing I think where that gives me an edge as an executive assistant, many of my CEOs and my busiest CEOs often also have ADHD.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're
Most
often,
do.
yeah, they're often extremely talented people, but
Mm-hmm.
completely disorganized.
Yeah.
Now, because I'm the same, and because my brain is always full of stuff, keep
Mm-hmm.
things keep coming in.
Mm-hmm.
My LinkedIn post today was about this. I have had to, and especially since starting my business, I have had to figure out a way to put that stuff down and get it organized
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and and make it make sense.
Yeah. System that works for you
Yeah.
so that your brain can analyze each thing that you have to do.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
very often with my clients, I will figure out a system for all that stuff that's coming into their head and all that genius that's flying around.
Mm-hmm.
It's put down, and then I help them organize it. And I
Yeah.
create systems that help make sense of all of the things and ideas that they have for their business. Um, so that's where I kind of stepped from a role of virtual assistant to executive assistant.
Got you.
So
Because you're
where
getting deeper dive into about them.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and really figuring out, sitting down, the clients I do the best work for are the clients I sit down and I say, okay, what is our goal? What are we focusing on this week? And what do we
Mm-hmm.
expect to get from that? Let's
Yeah.
write
What's
that
the
down.
return in that? Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and let's get a plan in place so we do this really well,
Yeah.
right? Um, and
How often do you meet with them?
I will meet with my clients who are my bigger clients, like as in I do more hours for them. I will meet once a week. If I do fewer hours, I'll usually do every other week. But
Right.
one or two clients who I'm literally just doing little jobs on the side and I just meet with them once a month.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got a little stagger of different, and that helps too, because if your bigger clients take more time and you kind of can spread all that out with the other
Yeah.
clients.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
is your typical type CEO? What is their company? What type of companies are you more drawn to?
I really love working with CEOs who are building a personal image and a personal brand. Very often that ends up being business coaches.
Mm-hmm.
But I also work with people who do marketing
Right, right.
and sales. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, so the business coach who really wants to market their brand, personal brand especially. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I love working with them because um, I love connecting people with like podcasts like you.
Yeah,
I love connecting
yeah.
people stages. I love lead generation. Lead generation is a real, I get a real kick
It's a
out of that.
need. Yeah.
It's a need. And I will help them, set up their events and get feedback from clients.
Mm-hmm.
Client communication is a huge thing. I'm a big believer in having clients help you structure your business.
Mm.
So I mean, I have my own clients, of course, but
Yeah,
I help my clients to communicate well with their community and hear from them and grow and structure their business based on that kind of feedback and stuff like that.
that's really cool because that's so important, building your brand. And that's something I've worked on, for the last 3 years, really building my brand and still learning.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of things coming up in August. I've got one where I'll go and get some more intense training and, working that, I built my own website, do all the things, like I said, because
Mm.
I want to have the hands-on and learn, but I also like to learn from others.
Yeah, yeah.
And your gift in teaching that is just so good to be able to use that because you're still using your teaching that you were passionate about. So that's really good to be able to do that. Now your kids are in school. You've got them
Yes,
still in school. Okay. Are they out for summer yet or they go longer?
Friday. Friday.
Friday, last day. Now, so when that happens, that means structure again, right?
It does.
Yeah, changing things around.
Yeah.
So now has this job that you have taken on supplying the needs that you set your goals for?
Yep.
That's
Um,
awesome.
so I will say you're talking to me on a at a time when I am still on a big learning curve,
Yeah,
still implementing systems and still kind of molding my business. Um,
right.
so yes, it has replaced the income I was getting, but it's done more than that. I remember I said to you, I thought that I was going to, I never thought I would have the passion again.
Yeah,
I love this job now. I get such a
that's
kick
so
out of it.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I working with clients, it's fun for me. It's really helped
Mm-hmm.
my confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And, my ability, I'm really learning a big part of just feedback and learning from that and being able to take that and process it without beating myself up because I tend to beat myself up.
That's what I was going to ask next. You make a mistake. Ugh. I,
That
you
is,
know, And then you got to hear about it and you got to listen. And then that was my hardest part. And still some days is. I take it all like right there. Like, why did I do that? You start all the beat up self questions like, how did I miss that? I mean, I had a graphic this morning, one misspelled word, and I missed it. And she
yeah.
sent me a little message. She's like, "Did you see that?" I was like, "Oh my goodness, no." And I did rolled eyes. I was like, "I've got it." And it was a simple fix, but I'm like, "How did I miss it?"
Yeah, but
It's
then
just
people hire an executive assistant so they don't miss that stuff. And then if the executive assistant misses it, you just feel like double fail.
yeah,
My
yeah,
brain is
yeah,
like, oh,
yeah,
this is
yeah.
what I'm
Well,
not
that's what I'm
supposed to
saying.
do.
I was doing this graphic for her. She's my
Yeah,
client.
it's
And
the
I'm
worst.
like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe a simple word, but it's just a typo thing. It's nothing major, but it is what it is. And, it's all out on the social media platforms because I had it timed. I do everything on the weekends, so it's ready for the week. And so
What
I'm
people
like,
need to
okay.
remember here, Laura, is everyone does this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Now,
I mean,
if you have somebody working with you and it's constant and it's like obviously they're not checking it regularly, fine. But everyone does this, and
yeah.
your audience is as forgiving as
Oh,
you, right?
big
So
time. Because, we have another group that I'm in and we're all the time laughing with each other because I'll catch something for her. She's like, oh, thank goodness you saw that. And we fix it. She fixes it. But she's big time a virtual assistant. But
yeah,
it's just because she's in the middle of a move and things are happening and,
yeah.
summer. And so
Yeah.
you just easily can miss stuff. But I'm so thankful that we have this opportunity to do the things that we're passionate about because
Yeah.
then life is much happier and things around us are flow much easier and better. And your kids are happier. It's just a good thing for you.
Yeah.
And the people you get to know, isn't it cool? I mean, you get to know
That's
so
the
many
brilliant part.
people. Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
made some amazing friends
Hmm.
through networking. Like people, like I have these two friends, and like regularly we're just in a LinkedIn group, and we're like talking to each other about our life, and
Yeah. Yeah.
like this, and we're very honest with each other, and we encourage
Hmm.
each other, and it's like this is fun because I
Yeah,
met
yeah,
these
that
people
you
in
can
my
do that.
life.
Yeah, it doesn't have to always be business and so scary.
Yeah,
And so, I always tell them my clients, I was like, I am not a perfectionist. So I may not be your girl if that's the case, because I will do my best and I will do everything needed, but I'm not a perfectionist. My mom was that. She had all that, not me. It was
what
just
I like to
something.
say about myself as an executive assistant is I'm a creative problem solver.
Creative problem
Me with
solver.
my
That's
company
beautiful.
work, and
Yeah,
I will figure out a way to do it better, streamline it, and I will do it in the most creative way that is bespoke to you as I can. And that's my background actually as spec ed, because I used to write individual educational programs all the time.
nice.
And I did administration, and I talked to all the parties involved. And there was a lot of moving things together to create that IEP. But
Hmm.
am I perfect? No, I'm not. You
But you know
know?
what? They don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
So to you, you are. You're telling them something as good as butter on bread. They are like, yeah, this woman knows what she's talking about because you have the confidence in what you're sharing.
Yeah.
You're not talking like, well, I think so, or this might work. You're like, this is what we need to do. This is what is going to help you do what you need to do. And
Yeah.
you have that confidence now in sharing that. So that makes a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
enjoy it. I love it. I love it if I
How
I
many
get
hours do you think you're working a week?
how am I at this point? I think I'm working about what was it yesterday? It's like 15, I think. About 15 hours,
Oh,
depending on the week.
yeah, yeah, not
Yeah.
bad. Yep, not bad at all. Well, as we're sitting here, I like to shuffle these little scripture cards that I have, and I like to
Okay.
share a scripture when we get close to our ending here. And it's whatever's on top is what's for us today. And so it says, for no word from God will ever fail. Luke 1:37. So we know his word never fails us, right? He's
Yeah.
got us all the time. And I want to ask one other question. What is something that you like to collect?
Oh, what do I like to collect? I don't collect anything. What do I like to collect? I'll remember this when I get off the call.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah. I I don't I yeah, I'm not a collector.
that's good. That's okay. I mean, it is, sometimes you don't. And and I used to have these certain things I had to have.
Yeah.
And after August, when things happened with us and we had to move and I realized all the stuff, I was like, I don't need to collect, but I do love angels. And I have some very special prints that a friend of mine has painted that has colon cancer. And
Wow.
she's made them for me. And she called me this weekend. It's like, we can meet for lunch Wednesday. I have something for you. I'm like, oh my gosh, if it's another painting, I'll probably just sit there and cry like a baby. But it's just the thought of these paintings are beautiful. And so
Lovely.
I'm very specific, and not just collecting every angel I see. It's got meaning behind it, and a lot of my guests will say memories because 2020 changed a lot of us, if not all, and
Yeah.
how we spend our time and making more memories with our family. So that is so important, in life and not taken for granted, right?
I think we're all just fine as long as none of us collect dust.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good one. Oh, I love that so much. I will be saying that. As long as you're not collecting dust, we are good to go. That was perfect. Well, I appreciate you being on my podcast today, Sharon. It was such a joy, and it's just been a pleasure to get to know you. And I hope that we are connected now for good.
Yes. Yeah.
You've got some things to teach me about LinkedIn.
100%. I'd love to do it.
Okay.
All
Thank you
right.
so much.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you for joining my podcast today. We all have a story to share. Each story has purpose and makes an impact to you, the listener, creating a journey with passion and purpose. The journey we're taking is the journey within you. Please share with others and subscribe below.